the subjects have the right to constrain. The subjects have the right to constrain the king, and to me that is what human rights are. They're freedom from government. They're limitations upon the state. What the Organization of the Islamic Conference, in concert, I regret to say, with the Obama administration, is doing at the planetary level at the UN Human Rights Council, is saying no. The state, and if necessary, the international body of the United Nations, has the right to constrain individuals right across the planet and insert, in effect, a planetary-wide group defamation law preventing anyone discussing Islam. I think that's a tragedy for the planet, and I'm very sad. I'm saddened that the Obama administration is willing to trade basic American principles away for some temporary photo op with thug states like Egypt.
Yeah, and that really is the underlying point of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, to say nothing of the Human Rights Council, is they're all run by thugocracies of one kind or another, and they are, at their very core, as individual nation states, the antithesis of human rights. And so you get them together in one or the other of these gatherings, mafia, whatever you want to call them, and it's very unlikely that they're going to take much time to be troubled with the essence of human rights and freedom. And in fact, I'd like to play a clip here of an exchange in that Human Rights Council just to make this point dramatically. Let's go to 1504. This is
from around the world of torture, persecution, and violence against women. What has this council pronounced? What has it decided? Nothing. Its response has been silence, but that would be inaccurate. This council has, after all, done something. It has enacted one resolution after another, condemning one single state, Israel. They seek to demonize Israeli democracy, to delegitimize the Jewish state, to scapegoat the Jewish people. They also seek something else, to distort and pervert the very language and idea of human rights.
If you'd kindly listen to me, I am sorry that I'm not in a position to thank you for your statement. I should mention that I will not tolerate any similar statements in the Council. The way in which members of this Council were referred to, and indeed the way in which the Council itself was referred to, all of this is inadmissible.
Well, there you have it. The first making the point that all that the Human Rights Council seems to do is to assail Israel, a nation that actually does respect human rights. And then the latter was a translation of Ambassador Luis Alfonso de Alba, I believe a Spaniard, if I'm not mistaken, president of the Human Rights Council back in March, saying that that kind of speech is really impermissible in the council itself. So, again, Mark, this just it seems as though it's almost surreal that we're witnessing the nation, the world, indeed, turned on its head as part of what I would describe as, and Robert Spencer has written an entire book on the subject, the sort of stealth jihad of these Sharia adherent types. That's the counterpart to the violent part that we talked about before the break.
Yes, and they function, the violent jihad of the young men on the Afghan-Pakistani border and the stealth jihad or the soft jihad, they function as a good cop, bad cop routine. Basically, there are significant forces throughout the world who basically share all the aims of Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda, but they just don't want to fly planes into skyscrapers to achieve them. And they're much shrewder, in fact, than the guys who want to fly planes into skyscrapers, because they've figured out that there's no point destroying those skyscrapers when you can take them over and they'll fall into your hands simply through the pusillanimity of many Western leaders as represented in bodies like the UN Human Rights Council. In other words, the West is so weakened and so enfeebled that it will give you everything you want just for promising that you won't blow things up. I know you're very big on Sharia finance.
Yeah. Big on it being against it.
Yeah, you're big
more
on
accurately.
being against it. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't agree with you. It's just debuted, for example, at the Toronto Stock Exchange this very week. Gordon Brown says he wants the United Kingdom to be the world leader in Sharia finance.
He does.
In other words, it's not just that many Western Muslims share all the aims of Osama bin Laden. For example, if you poll young Muslims in Ireland, 40% of them would like Ireland to become an Islamic state. What on earth? You know, we've spent decades thinking the whole problem in Ireland was something to do with Catholics and Protestants, and young Muslims are saying no.
They were left out.
Nuts to all that. It's going to be Sunni versus Shia.
Clearly, Mark, you understand this. Their feelings were hurt. They didn't have a piece of the action, so now they want the whole country to be Muslim. And as you know, Britain is at the moment being roiled by this mass demonstration of Muslims that is going to be insisting that Shariah be applied not just to Muslims there, but to everybody in lieu of the common law. So here we are, and I just wanted to introduce another wonderful contribution made to this front in the war of ideas by Daniel Henninger in today's Wall Street Journal. He's doing a piece on the Nobel Peace Prize, awarded to our president by a gaggle of left-wing Norwegian parliamentarians. He calls it a decadent Nobel. And he uses that as sort of the theme of this thing, and I think that's what you're getting at as well, is that they've taken our measure, they've found us to be not only feckless but decadent, and that makes us ripe for the stealth jihad.
Yes, and I think that's why they gave the president the award. I remember at the time of all the birth certificate controversy, whenever it was, I said, I would very much doubt.
Some think it's still going on.
I said I'd very much doubt Barack Obama was born in Kenya. It sounds far more likely to me that he was born in Stockholm.
Yeah.
He's the first Scandinavian prime minister to be president of the United States.
Yeah.
And the trouble is that won't work. The only reason that Sweden can get away with being Sweden, and Norway can get away with being Norway, and Belgium can be Belgium, and Germany can be Germany, is because America's America. Somebody has to play the role of America in the world. And if the United States is not prepared to do that, you know, we forget what a relatively smooth period, very violent, but in terms of global order, we have had a very smooth transition of power. There was 1 month in 1943, I think it was, when Britain had more men under arms than the United States, and sometime in the course of that month it changed, and the United States had more men under arms. 1943, I think it is. Yeah. And in a sense, the order maker on the planet passed from being the British Empire to the United States. Two civilizations, two cultures, two nations, very close, very similar to each other, as close as you could possibly get. And the idea that in the post-American era you're going to have anything like a smoother transition of the order maker, I think is crazy. I mean, that's the idea that you can just shrug off American power in the world and life will go on, which is what these left-wing Norwegians seem to believe, I think is completely deluded.
Yeah, we're going to go further into that with Mark Steyn, our friend and mentor on so many of these ideas, specifically on what the post-American world that Barack Obama seems bent on creating will mean for you.
You're listening to Secure Freedom Radio. Now more from Frank Gaffney.
When we did a review of what the prior administration had decided about missile defense in Europe, we concluded it didn't meet the threat that we were worried about. We do not believe Russia and the United States pose a threat to one another. What we believe is that these other actors pose threats to both of us. So we have offered for the closest cooperation between the United States and Russia. We would be happy to be making these decisions jointly with Russia.
Did you hear that? That was Hillary Clinton, our Secretary of State, obviously just in the caught up in the spirit of détente with the Russians and offering to make decisions about missile defense with the Russians. Mark Steyn, you were talking before the break about the post-American world, and this obviously suggests a different kind of world than the American